Hello everyone, welcome back to the e-lecture series of community medicine. Today I'll be talking about integrated vector management. This topic we have already covered in medical entomology part 1. But today we'll see some of the details of the integrated vector management. Okay? At the end of this lecture, you would be able to define integrated vector control approach. Then you would know evolution and need of integrated vector control approach. Then you would be able to give selection criteria for vector control measures. Then the basic concepts for integrated vector management implementation, and lastly key elements of an integrated vector control strategy. Okay. In entomology part 1, we have already seen the general principles of arthropod control, which are environmental control, chemical control, biological control, genetic control, personal protective measures, mechanical and physical control, and some of the newer methods of arthropod control. So, we will just revise it quickly. We will revise these vector control measures in short. First one is environmental control, which is the best approach for the vector control. In environmental control, it includes elimination of breeding places, that is source reduction, then filling and drainage operations, then provision of piped water supply, proper disposal of refuse and other waste, and cleanliness in and around house. Okay. Then next one is chemical control, where we can use various insecticides such as some of the contact poisons are there, some of the stomach poison and fumigants. In that, organochlorous compounds, organophosphorus compounds, then some of the repellents are there, carbamates and synthetic pyrosols, okay, etc. Next method is biological control, where we can use various larvivorous fish like Gambusia affinis and some of the fungi of genus Phylomyces for mosquito control. The next one is genetic control. In that, sterile male technique, cytoplasmic incompatibility, and chromosomal translocation. These are the various methods of vector control. Then, use of personal protective measures like protective clothing using repellents. For example, D, that is N-diethylene toluamide. Then, insecticide treated mosquito nets we can use for personal protection. Some of the mechanical control and physical control methods are there. For example, use of fly sweaters or fly traps for housefly control, use of lice combs, glue traps, etc. And some of the newer methods which include insect growth regulators, pheromones and biocides. Okay. Now let's see brief history about the vector control. So before the Second World War, the only vector control method used was environmental control, and the elimination of diseases was never on the agenda. Then after during 1940s, there was advent of DDT and other organochlorous pesticides. So spraying of these pesticides reduce the average longevity of the mosquitoes to below the age at which they become infectious, and thus reduce the transmission of malaria and several other vector-borne diseases. Even the malaria was eliminated from a number of countries, but after some time, because of insecticide resistance, resulted in failure to eliminate the malaria in other countries. Okay. Because of this, in 1980s, the insecticides other than DDT were developed. The pyrethroids being the most recent class of insecticides, which are currently the predominant insecticides used for vector control. Okay. So, how the integrated vector control evolved? So, as we have seen, the vector control has been a part of malaria control activities since the early 20th century. And during the pre-DDT area, means before 1940, the reduction of vector mosquitoes largely relied on larviciding and environmental management of breeding habitats. Then in 1950s, the DDT and other organochlorous insecticides were extensively used. But because of this, in 1970s, there occurred development of insecticide resistance, poor human acceptance and environmental concerns against the use of insecticides, which led to a rethinking in vector control strategy. So in 1980s, WHO proposed an integrated vector control strategy based on the principles of integrated pest management in agriculture. Okay. So the concept of integrated vector control came in 1980s. So based on this, we can give the reasons for integrated approach, like technical problems such as development of resistance to older insecticides like DDT, then financial problems such as cost of the newer insecticides like pyrethroids, then environmental problems like environmental pollution by overuse of insecticides, and operational problems such as lack of public cooperation for the spraying of insecticides in their houses, etc. Okay. So these are the reasons why integrated approach has been developed. As we know, integrated vector management, it is an integral part of the National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. So this program aims to achieve effective vector control by the appropriate biological, chemical and environmental interventions of proven efficacy separately or in combination as appropriate to the area through the optimal use of resources. Okay. Here the efforts are made for collaboration with various public and private agencies and community participation for vector control. Here, the integration of integrated vector management is done by using identical vector control methods to control vector-borne diseases like malaria, kala-azar, Japanese encephalitis, dengue, lymphatic filariasis, and chikungunya. For example, we know the mosquito acts as a vector for malaria, Japanese encephalitis, dengue, chikungunya, etc. So, we can use identical vector control methods for control of these vectors. Okay. This picture shows the integration of the vector control methods under National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. Here is environmental manipulation and modification, then biological control, then ISA activities, use of personal protective equipments, then intersectoral coordination and community participation and disease management. Okay. There are some criteria for selection of vector control measures such as effectiveness. So the vector control measure, it should be effective, it should be safe, simple for use, it should be cost effective, then less time consuming and less effort, then type of benefit again it is giving, then social acceptability in local context and support requirements. Okay, these criteria you have to look for during selection. So while implementation of integrated vector management, some of the basic concepts you have to keep in mind. For example, you should know which mosquito species are locally important as vectors of human diseases. For example, at some places, the Anopheles mosquito could be the problem. In some places, it could be a Culex, or at other places, it could be a Aedes mosquito. So, you have to find out which mosquito species are locally important as vectors of human diseases. The next concept is which mosquito species are important as primary source of anans. Then what are the important breeding sites of different mosquito species that we have seen in medical entomology part 1. Then what is the seasonal pattern of mosquito breeding? Again we have seen this. Then what are the resting places of adult mosquitoes? What are the feeding preferences of vector mosquitoes? Then to map out and locate all potential larval development habitats in that particular area. Then identify the mosquito species present and to predict the time and location of effective control strategy. Okay. So these strategies are this integrated vector management includes the implementation of all feasible strategies safely with or without insecticides to manage the vector population in such a way so that disease transmission is kept under check. It also includes management of insecticide resistance either by rotation within the same group or different groups. This also we have seen in entomology lecture. Just now we saw the basic concepts of integrated vector management implementation. Now, the actual avium implementation involves entomological surveillance in sentinel and random sites at monthly intervals, then appropriate use of insecticides for supervised insecticidal residual spray with full support from National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, then scaling up use of long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, that is LLIN. Then treatment of community-owned bed nets. Next one is intensified anti-larval operations in urban and peri-urban areas. Then scaling up use of larvivorous fish, for example Gambusia affinis, with exploring outsourcing to NGOs under first public and private partnership model, and promotion of source reduction, minor engineering, etc. by involvement of Panchayati Raj institutions at village level. Okay. The implementation of integrated vector management involves one of the strategy of IRS, that is insecticidal residual spray. So the National Malaria Control Program is currently using this IRS as the primary method of vector control in rural settings. So this is one of the most effective control measures for malaria and Kala Azar in India. Main objective of this IRS is to interrupt the transmission by reducing the number of infective vectors, and which can be achieved by ensuring safe and correct application of the insecticide to indoor surfaces of the houses and animal shelters. Okay. For malaria, only human dwelling is covered, but for Kala Azar, both human dwelling as well as animal shelters are covered with this IRS. Okay. In India, for malaria control, the prioritization is made for the implementation of this IRS. That is, for areas having API less than 1. So this API, that is annual parasite incidence, if it is more than or equal to 2 per 1000 population per year, this area is classified as high risk area in India. Okay. So accordingly, in India, the prioritization is made. For example, if the API is less than 1 for a particular area, then the strategies are vector control by minor engineering processes like desilting, debedding and cleaning of canals and irrigation channels. Then biological control using larvivorous fish by use of larvicides and environmental management. Then again it involves the involvement of Panchayati Raj institutions in rural areas and municipal bodies in urban areas by sensitizing them. Okay. Next is if the API, that is annual parasite incidence for the area is between 1 to 2, the vector control is done by source reduction, that is environmental method of vector control and biological control. Okay. Next, if API is between 2 to 5 means high risk areas, there the vector control by distribution of long lasting insecticide treated nets, mosquito nets, if acceptability of IRS is low. Then for areas which can be supervised and accessible and if API is between 2 to 5, the quality IRS for selective vector control based on epidemiological impact of earlier vector control measures is needed. Okay. Then for areas having API above 5 and for areas having perennial transmission, that is if it is more than 5 months in a year, 2 rounds of IRS are given with DDT or 3 rounds with malathion. Then priority distribution of long lasting insecticide treated mosquito nets as per the guidelines, and vector bionomic studies for further change of the strategy. Then if the area is having seasonal transmission less than 5 months in a year, 1 round of IRS with DDT before start of transmission, then focal spray whenever and wherever needed, and priority distribution of this insecticide treated nets as per the guidelines. Okay. Now we'll see some of the key elements of an integrated vector management strategy. So these elements should be supported by legislation and regulations. So what are the key elements? So first one is advocacy, social mobilization and legislation. Second one, collaboration within the health sector and with other sectors also. Then third one is integrated approach. Then fourth one, evidence-based decision making, and last key element is capacity building. Okay. The first key element, that is advocacy, social mobilization and legislation. It involves the promotion and embedding of principles of integrated vector management in designing the policies in all relevant agencies, organizations and civil society, and establishment or strengthening of regulatory and legislative controls for public health, and also empowerment of communities. Okay. The next element, collaboration within the health sector and with other sectors, like within and between public and private sectors. Then strengthening the channels of communication among policymakers, vector-borne disease program managers and other integrated vector management partners. Okay. Third one is integrated approach. Here you have to ensure rational use of available resources by addressing several diseases, then integrating non-chemical and chemical vector control methods, and integrating with other disease control methods also. Okay. The evidence-based decision making, it involves the adoption of strategies and interventions as per the local ecology, epidemiology and resources. And it should be guided by operational research and subject to routine monitoring and evaluation. And the last key element, that is capacity building, it involves the provision of infrastructure, financial resources and human resources at national and local level to manage the integrated vector management strategies. Okay, so these are the key elements of an integrated vector control strategy.
This figure is of integrated vector management. Here we can see there are various methods of vector control, like source reduction, which is a part of environmental control. Though this is permanent method, it takes time. So you can support this with biological control, like using larvivorous fish. Again, you can support this with chemical control, that is use of various insecticides. Then use of personal protection, like using mosquito nets and repellents. Though it is temporary, it gives quick result. And most important is giving health education to communities, school children through mass media. So here we, instead of using only one method, like instead of using only environmental control or instead of using only biological control, we are combining the methods of vector control so as to ensure the maximum efficacy or maximum control of vectors so as to prevent the vector-borne diseases.
So see, this is the best example of integrated vector control approach for mosquitoes. Here the mosquito control measures, instead of using only one method, we are using these many methods for control of mosquitoes that we have seen already in entomology lecture. So we are using anti-larval measures, in that again environmental control, chemical control and biological control we are using. Then for anti-adult control, we are using various sprays of malathion, parathion, etc. Then residual sprays of organochlorous compounds like DDT and genetic control. Then protection against mosquito bites, in that mosquito nets, then screening of buildings, and we are using repellents, and last one legislative control. Okay, so this completes the integrated vector control approach. So to summarize, in this lecture we have seen the definition of integrated vector management, then we saw the evolution of integrated vector control approach, then the basic concepts in the integrated vector control management or implementation of integrated vector control, then again actual implementation strategies and various key elements of the integrated vector approach. Okay, so this completes the integrated vector control. Thank you.